This episode of the Drone Radio Show podcast is presented by Pix4D, the world's leader in 3D mapping software for UAV professionals. Meet other users, try the latest products, and chat to developers at the first Pix4D user conference. Get your early bird tickets at pix4d.com/radio.
I think the drones are the next level. It's very engaging, and I do feel like it brings that computer science piece right in your hands. And I don't see another program that does that quite the same way.
You're listening to the Drone Radio Show podcast, the show about drones and the people who use them for business, fun, and research. Hosted by Randy Goers.
Hello everyone, this is Randy Goers, and welcome to the Drone Radio Show podcast, episode 212. What's the next level up for drones in STEM education? For that question, we turn to Michelle Dunphy and Kimberly Gudanis of Fitzgerald Elementary School in Prince William County, Virginia. Kimberly is principal at Fitzgerald Elementary, and Michelle is the school's Instructional Technology Coach. Earlier this year, the school launched a STEM education program that featured drones. What makes this program interesting is that the drones are used to help students learn and master computer coding skills. It's another step in the school's strategy to prepare students for a future where computer programming is an essential skill. In this edition of the Drone Radio Show, Michelle and Kim talk about STEM education at Fitzgerald Elementary and how drones are used to teach students computer coding. But before we hear from Michelle and Kimberly, I want to thank those of you who are supporting my funding campaign. Now you have the option of making a one-time donation in any amount by going to droneradioshow.com/donate. Whether it's $1, $100, or much more, you can help defray the cost of production and keep the podcast going and growing. And if you'd like to make a monthly contribution, you can still go to patreon.com/droneradioshow. So let's learn how drones are leveling up STEM education at Fitzgerald Elementary School with Michelle Dunphy and Kimberly Gudinas. Let's pick up the interview where I asked Michelle and Kimberly to introduce themselves.
I'm Kim Gudinas. I'm principal of Fitzgerald Elementary School. We're a large elementary school in Northern Virginia.
I'm the Instructional Technology Coach in a school in Prince William County, and I provide professional development for teachers and do co-teaching with them to introduce technology to them.
Michelle and Kim, before we get into your specific program, can you tell us how drones became part of your STEM curriculum?
So we had at Fitzgerald a lot of other opportunities for students related to STEM, such as makerspace and robotics club, tech club, but we wanted to expand our programs and the offerings for our kids and provide a little bit more than we were already providing. So we chose drones as the next step for us to grow, really focusing on critical thinking and getting our kids excited about learning through technology.
Does STEM education play a major part in the school district's plans?
Absolutely. It's a huge focus for our whole entire county and the state as well. We have a dedicated STEM teacher, but we really wanted to move our school into the robotics part of that piece. So starting with a land drone and then moving towards a flying drone and coding both of those has been our main goal for a grant that we just received.
We'll talk more about the grant in a few minutes, but I'm curious about STEM and elementary children. How well do they migrate to the technology?
So I always find it funny because I think kids are better with technology than adults sometimes because kids aren't scared of breaking anything. But surprisingly, when we started with the drones, it's only been a few months and some of our children were already familiar with drones, have already seen drones. Some children already have them. They had just not learned how to use drones in the classroom or at a higher level. And many of them are also learning and exploring how drones, are integrated in all other aspects of society too.
We chose to start the stuff with those land drones just because it was an easy place to start. The Sphero has 4 different levels of coding. So you can either drive the drone, you can draw and code it that way. You can also use drag and drop, or it goes all the way up to using JavaScript in order to code that drone. So I feel like it has a lot of early entry points and a high ceiling for those kids to take it as far as they would like to, and for those teachers to be able to take it as far as they are able to through professional development.
How many students are participating in the program and what grades?
So 100% of our students, and that ranges from kindergarten to 5th grade.
There are a lot of different ways to introduce STEM to children. So why drones specifically?
It really provides for a hands-on kinesthetic learning of coding, where you're seeing the physical movement of the code that you just wrote rather than seeing it on a screen. So I think it's really beneficial for young kids to be able to see their code and then see their code move physically, rather than just to see a code not work on a computer screen or something that's a little bit less kid-friendly. And I feel like it's a great avenue for kids to learn about robotics and that coding piece because it is hands-on.
Now, you've mentioned coding a couple of times. Would I be correct in assuming that this program is more about learning how to code than it is about exploring the physics or the aerodynamics of a drone?
Anytime we can make an opportunity to cross the curriculum with coding, I feel like it's a success for our kids, because whether you're coding a flying drone or a land drone or some other avenue, it's still that language, and being able to move into different languages will be benefit for those students for their 21st century careers.
So at the kindergarten level, what type of exposure to coding do kids receive?
For our kindergartners, we really want them to be in that drive, lower levels of coding. They're coding different letters, or they're using our land drones for class meetings where the drone will move over to there. They have a sink and float that they're going to do with the spheros, because the spheros are heavy, but they float. So it'll be an interesting, incongruent event for them. So any way that we can pull those hands-on activities with them is what we're working on.
And as students progress through the grades, I assume the coding challenges progress as well.
So we see, for example, in a 5th grade classroom several months ago, the focus was matter. And one of the kids coded the sphero to move as if it were an atom.
A lot of people have apprehensions about drones. Were there any challenges in introducing the technology into your school curriculum?
So what we did was we started with professional development for the teachers, and it was really exciting because there was a little apprehension at first because it was new. But within 45 minutes, the teachers were racing them down the hallway. So it was really exciting to see their excitement, because then when they're excited, obviously our kids are going to be excited. But truly the very next day after teachers learned how to use them, truly the next day they were being used in classrooms for academic purposes. And so we've seen the progression from simply kids driving them during a classroom meeting to, like I said, programming them to move like an atom. So it's been really neat to see the progression in a short amount of time, and that's because they're so excited about it.
How well did teachers master the curriculum?
I feel like the land drone had an easy entry point for them because it starts at a lower level, and then the Parrot Mambo is the flying drone that we chose as well. And the Parrot Mambo controls are very similar to Sphero's driving instructions and movement and coding. So they were able to make that transition. We had our 5th graders flying the Parrot Mambo along a sound wave, exploring the crest and the trough through moving a flying drone up and down. So that was a lot of fun for them.
In terms of the overall cultural impact on the school, have you noticed any changes since the start of the program? I mean, has there been any sort of collective response from the student body?
So we've heard so many comments about the improvement with student engagement. We've also heard comments and seen in action how the drones are really encouraging collaboration between peers. So they're problem solving together, they're collaborating together, and it's really neat to see those interactions and how they're using the drones to solve problems.
Do teachers talk about the real-world use of drones so students can form a connection with what they're learning?
Yes, our librarian has made our whole section in our library about coding and about drones and how they're helping everyday people. We have our daily newscasts that we're putting commercials on there about how they're using the drones in Africa to move medical necessities around that rural area to save lives. We also have on the news like a little segment about the firefighting drones.
Even though the program is only a few months old, what sort of benefits are starting to emerge?
So the excitement and the creativity for certain. And when we have excited teachers, we're going to have excited students. And when we have active teachers, we're going to have active students. So it's definitely elevating the innovative ideas that they're exploring through planning discussions and what we see when we're in classrooms. But we see drones truly from start to finish, start of the school day until the end, whether it's a child driving it to lunch or during indoor recess on a rainy day, they've had bowling experiences with the drone. And art, they're using drones in art class. So really it is a school-wide program, and every child loves to have the opportunity to use the drones.
We have a tech club that comes in Tuesday mornings, and they work on either coding with Tinker or another program, and they're flying the drones in our hallways. The one little girl said that she wanted to, when she grew up, make her first drone dog walking business. So that creativity and some of that excitement is contagious, but it is like a perfect link. I mean, I can imagine that is one of her chores that she does at her house. So she's looking forward to try to get a drone to do the dog walking instead of her. We've also had a connection with an artist who lives in London. And this artist in London paints robots into her art. So we've been exploring some of the drones that make art that are around. And so they've had an experience with looking at art that was made by drones. So that's an interesting factor as well. We do have a dedicated STEM teacher, and so she'll be working towards helping them program their drones after they made their own painted robots.
What latitude do teachers have in allowing kids to explore and experiment with the technology?
So it depends on the subject and what we see. So for example, a third grade teacher is following the curriculum and following the pacing. So fractions were still the focus, but instead of doing a worksheet or something boring, they're using fractions with drones. In second grade, there was a lesson, again, instead of a worksheet or something boring, there were spheros being used to uncover fair shares and fractions of a set. So they're still following the pacing and the curriculum. They're just adding the drones into the existing planning discussions, as a way to just make it more creative, make it more innovative, and really to elevate the kid thinking.
Was the curriculum developed by you and your staff, or was it borrowed and modified to fit your goals?
We're using modifications on our curriculum that is set by our county and by our state. And then just moving modifications of technology, and how we teach it is our discretion. So this is the choice that we're making. We have a very high English language learner population. So it's interesting to see the level of conversation with these students increase when they're using the technology. And they all feel like they're a part of it because they're all on the same level in a lot of ways, engaging with drones for the first time.
I see. So in other words, you already have a proven curriculum for STEM and for coding, and you're just modifying that program to include drones.
Correct. So the professional development that we're making up in our building is what we're including as a part of our instruction to curriculum that's already there for math, English, reading, science, and social studies.
What challenges have you encountered so far?
So one of our challenges is simply, having enough iPads for our drones and managing them. We have 50 spheros, so we have to make sure they all have iPads and the batteries stay charged. Figuring out ways to increase the level of drone usage. So for example, in some classes, maybe the children are just driving them, but how can we get everyone to increase the level of use so that they then move into the coding realm? Or if they're only using land drones, let's come together to figure out how we can get them into the realm of using the flying drones. So that's not part of our challenge because we are not met with resistance, but the program is only several months old. So we have to be slow and steady in how we roll it out to make sure that it is embraced.
And with kids, I imagine it has to be challenging to keep their interest, but not so much that they get frustrated.
Exactly. Yes, we had our students who were dipping the spheros in paint, and then they were drawing different isosceles different triangles and then categorizing them, isosceles, scalene, and right triangles and acute triangles, but it was having them go through those motions that added a lot to their learning. So it was a slower process than drawing a bunch of triangles on your paper, but the conversations about coding them into that shape were valuable for that information and for those students to retain the information.
How did you fund the program?
We wrote a grant through our county, through Spark, and then received $5,000 worth of grant money in order to make this vision come to fruition. Sphero has a lot of information on their website from Sphero EDU on incorporating drones and how other teachers are using that. So we also use that as a background for our teachers and accessing that. So we spent most of our money on land drones so that every single classroom teacher will have one of those land drones. And then we have the Parrot Mambo, the flying drone, one for each grade level in order to access. So it's getting them to first embrace our land drones and then step into the flying drones, and then we'll go from there.
Can you give us some examples of how drones are used on a daily basis in the school?
So our office has a drone, and we've programmed it to be the tour guide. So our registrar will use the drone and let the newcomer drive it on their tour through the building. Drones are used in class meetings, so they can be driven from person to person as it's their turn speaking. I've used it in situations with students who were experiencing behavior difficulties, and it is very calming when they use it. And they can be so creative that they channel their emotions in a different way so that we can resolve the problem. In classrooms, as I mentioned, they're used during structured instruction time, indoor recess. We are actually, this coming weekend, we annually held a fun run, but this year we're incorporating drones into that. So it's a fun run and drone races. And so we have structured activities that involve drones so that the community and the parents get to experience what our kids experience every day.
What about special needs children? Are they also participating in the program?
We have two special needs classrooms, and both of them have their own drones. We have the Codapillar, which is a Fisher-Price where you add a block and then code that. The students are super excited about that. And then we have one for the older special needs class, which is the MIP Coder, which is a robot that they can control with their iPad. And they've been having success with that. The teachers are really embracing it, and the students absolutely love it.
Do you feel drones bring something unique to the curriculum? Or are students pretty much responding like they would with other STEM-related tools?
I think the drones are the next level. It's very engaging, and I do feel like it brings that computer science piece right in your hands. And I don't see another program that does that quite the same way.
What are the lessons that you're learning so far?
So one of my lessons is that it's okay to take risks as educators. Sometimes I think we are so committed to what we're doing because we know it's working that we're hesitant to try new things, but everyone has embraced it so quickly and the results are so positive that the risk taking was encouraged and will be encouraged in the future. And I think that can only help to propel us forward. So being innovative and being risk takers and getting positive results is only going to increase the level of use going forward, I believe.
And I feel like our students need that 21st experience. The 21st century experience is so valuable for them to have on a daily basis. When we first started the program, I feel like they were a little bit afraid of drones. So just kind of educating our own population about how they can help society and all of us moving forward, and getting them ready for the 21st century. If we always teach the way we taught, then we're not preparing our students for a future.
As we've discussed, coding plays a large role in your drone STEM program. Can you talk more about why that's important?
We feel like technology and computer science is a literacy that not enough people are speaking about. We think that having that robotics piece, we all have, or I should say the majority of our schools have a Lego robotics program, but that touches such a small population. It's only such a small team. We wanted that experience for that robotics piece to be in every single classroom for every student.
If I walked into your school, how prevalent would it be for me to see drones?
Every classroom named their drone. So every classroom's drone has a name, much like a pet. So they have signs outside. Teachers have done bulletin boards. So just visibly, you would see images of drones. And then walking down the hall, the likelihood of you seeing a drone being driven by a kid on the way to recess or encore is very, very high. So they're all over. And it's often that we're just walking down the hall, we see one being used, and we just pop in to see how the teacher's incorporating it. Actually, the other day, I was sitting in my office and I look out and I see a teacher who'd planned an activity outside on a beautiful day that involved drones. So some of the kids were doing one activity, and another group of kids was working with the teacher to show language arts objective mastery using the drone. So it was really neat to see things that we weren't expecting either. And one of the other benefits that I've just been super impressed with is our children's critical thinking skills. And I really see it when they're collaborating with each other when using the drones. One day, for example, the children had dipped the Sphero in paint and were coating it to draw the triangle. But they had to figure out how to keep the triangle on the paper so that it wouldn't go on the floor. So they really had to manipulate the image so that it rotated and would stay on the paper and not the floor. And it was really neat to see how they very quickly figured that out. And that's just not an experience we would get with markers and a dry erase board or with a worksheet or with a sort, for example. So, it's really innovative, but it is also boosting critical thinking skills.
How does the curriculum fit into the school board's overall plan for the district?
Part of the strategic plan for our division speaks to being innovative and building critical thinkers. So they're very supportive of the work we're doing because it supports the vision and mission of our school board and school system. They're very supportive of the work we're doing and very excited to see. We've actually been highlighted in a video for our county that highlights the work we're doing with drones every day. They're very supportive.
How about the parents?
Parents are very supportive of it, and sometimes they're almost shocked that their kids can do things with drones that they weren't aware of. But one of the benefits of the community event on Saturday is we're hoping to let the parents experience what our kids experience so that they have that familiarity when they're having conversations at the dinner table.
You mentioned a community event. The event will have already occurred by the time this show airs, but tell us about it as an example of how you're engaging with the community.
Again, we want that community engagement piece and make sure that, everybody is excited about the same project and that they can continue these things at their own homes. They have some of their coding materials they can access from home as well. So I think it's a great opportunity for all of our families to engage with the school building in a positive way. We're going to have 6 different areas. We'll have a place where you can fly and flip the drones if you don't have that aviation driving lesson, or our older kids will be landing at a few places and then crossing a finish line with the parrot mambos. We'll have one room that does the hour of code. We'll have some face painting for our Spheros and parrot mambos. And then we're going to have Sphero bowling, and then also some just drive racing with the K-2 students, and then drive racing with the 3 to 5 students.
What advice would you offer to other educators that are thinking about starting a similar STEM program?
I would say go for it.
Just start somewhere, and then wherever you are, try to move that envelope, and everybody else will follow. Starting with an easy operable, like something that's easy to operate for the teachers, is a great place because then they can build on their skills and their knowledge and their confidence, and then spills into the classroom from there.
Is there anything that we missed that we should talk about?
One thing that we are excited about is we're really preparing our kids for the future. So, you watch commercials with drones, and, drones are part of professions that there weren't 5 years ago. So we're really preparing our kids for after school and beyond, because there's so many jobs that they will be familiar with because of their experience here.
And for my final question, Michelle and Kimberly, what message would you like to leave others about the importance of STEM and drones in education?
So I am most excited about seeing our kids excited about learning. It's my belief that happy kids will be happy to come to school, and happy kids learn. So anytime we see our kids engaged in a quality learning activity, that is a win for the day. And not only that, for that day, they want to come back the next day because learning is exciting. So for me, I am most excited just because of the level of interest our kids and our teachers have in them.
For me, I feel like it's an interesting challenge to roll out this much professional development all at one time. So I like that challenge of the piece of that. Each of our teachers are in different places. Some of our teachers just up and ran with it, and then other teachers need a little more co-teaching opportunities, and I do enjoy that piece of it. But at the end of the day, I like seeing all of our students with this positive experience. That 21st century job opportunities, I feel like we work at a Title I school, which means that over half of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch. And I used to think that the digital divide was about the internet, either access to the internet or not, but I feel more so that it comes down to experiences like this. Our grant that we received is $5,000, and that's not a lot of money. It's a very small amount for a startup project like this. And for other schools, that would be no problem at all. For our school and our PTSO, that's not the kind of funds that we have readily available. So I think it's exciting to try to launch this with a minimal amount of money and then pull it into every classroom for every student.
With confidence, we can say every day our kids have quality learning opportunities that will prepare them and give them hope for the future.
We want to make sure that every one of our students is included in that future. And if that's coding one drone at a time, then that's where we are.
That's it for episode 212 of the Drone Radio Show. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Michelle Dunphy and Kimberly Gudinas of Fitzgerald Elementary School, in hearing how drones are used to advance computer coding skills. I want to thank Michelle and Kimberly for taking the time to speak with me. If you want to learn more about the Drone STEM program or want to connect with Michelle or Kimberly, check out the Prince William County webpage at pwcs.edu. If you're interested in the Pix4D User Conference, check out the webpage at pix4d.com/radio. And Pix4D is spelled Pix4D.com. If you like the Drone Radio Show, please consider supporting the podcast with a small donation. The content is always free, but for as little as $1, you can help defray the cost of production. To donate, go to droneradioshow.com/donate or patreon.com/droneradioshow. And thanks for listening. Your support means a lot to me. And I hope you'll listen to more episodes of the Drone Radio Show podcast to hear how others are using drones for business, fun, and research. For the Drone Radio Show, I'm Randy Gores.
This has been the Drone Radio Show podcast. More information on today's show can be found on our website at www.droneradioshow.com. If you're using drone technology for business, fun, or research, and would like to share your experience on the show, please visit our website and fill out a guest appearance application. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media channels.